I go through a lot of budgets for young people, and there's one line that stops me almost every single time. It's not rent, it's not student loans, it's not even how much they're spending going out. It's transportation. It's honestly astonishing how much young people spend on their cars. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month, locked up for years, all of it going towards something that's losing value the entire time they own it. And what really gets me is how fixable it is. You take a couple $100s a month, set it aside instead, let it become a car fund, and you go pay cash. And then you're just done. No payment, the margin comes back. But that's almost never what I see. What I see is the opposite, over and over. And I'll be honest, it drives me a little crazy. So today I want to talk about the car decision because it's one of the most common ways young people quietly wreck the financial margin they've worked so hard to build. My name is Kyle Blackwell. I'm a certified financial planner, and I've spent almost 2 decades sitting with people while they walk me through their actual numbers. So this isn't theory for me. I've watched this one decision play out in hundreds of real budgets, and I want to save you from the version of it that I see a lot of people regret. Before I get going, let me be honest about something. I'm not a car guy. I don't care about cars. I drive something reliable, I keep it a long time, and I'd genuinely rather spend my money on almost anything else. Now, some of you who know me are already typing. Just stop it. Because you've seen what I drive, and you're thinking, hold on, this guy drives a Tesla. He's totally a car guy. Look at him. So let me head that off. Here's what I actually did. I bought it used. A few years old, low miles, paid cash. People hear Tesla and they immediately think expensive. But I bought it used for well below what a new one cost, and I don't have a payment on it. Plenty of people spend just as much as I did or more on a brand new car they think is a lot less impressive. The difference isn't the badge. The difference is I bought it after the worst of the depreciation was already gone, and I didn't borrow money to do it. Why am I even having to justify my decision? Oh well. That's the whole point of this video, actually. So when I say I'm not a car guy, I mean it. I just bought a good used car the boring way. That's my bias, and I'll own it. If you love cars, if that's genuinely a thing you value and you've built the margin to afford one, then go spend your money on what you love. I'm not the boss of you. And here's the other honest caveat, because I know it's coming. If you're 50 years old and a new car is a tiny fraction of your net worth, sure, go buy the thing. Just go in with your eyes open about what it's going to be worth in 3 years. But here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want the 50-year-old millionaire to become the excuse for the 25-year-old, because those are completely different situations. Most of the people watching this aren't the millionaire with margin to burn. Most of the people watching this are a few years into their career, maybe starting a family, maybe stretching to get into a first house. And for that person, a new car is one of the fastest ways to drain the margin they can least afford to lose. That's who I'm talking to today. Here's the core problem with overspending on a car. It's not an investment, it's a tool, and it loses value the second you drive it off the lot. Most new cars drop 20 to 30% in the first year alone. Think about what that actually means. You spend $30,000 and a year later, it's worth maybe 22. You didn't crash it. You didn't do anything wrong. You just owned it for a year, and it cost you the better part of $8 grand. There's almost nothing else you spend big money on that drops in value that fast and that predictably. So if there's one category where you really don't want to stretch, where you don't want to buy more than you need, it's the one thing that's actually guaranteed to be worth dramatically less the moment it's yours. And yet, that's the exact category where I watch people stretch the most, which is worth pausing on because it's not an accident. There are basically 2 sets of games being played here. One the dealership plays on you, and one you play on yourself. Let's start with the dealership. The single most important thing to understand when you walk onto a car lot is that they are not selling you a car. They're selling you a monthly payment. Watch how the conversation actually goes. You'll mention a price range, and almost immediately it gets translated into, okay, well, what can you do per month? Because they know that's how most people actually think. Nobody walks around thinking, I'd like to spend $31,000. They think, I could probably handle around $450 a month. And the second you're thinking in monthly payments, they got you. Because now there's a lever they can pull that you might not even notice. And it's the length of the loan. If the monthly feels a little high, no problem. They just stretch the loan out. 6 years, 7 years, and suddenly the payment drops to something that feels comfortable. And it feels like you got a better deal. You didn't. What you actually did was agree to pay for that car for most of the decade, piling up interest the entire time on something that's losing value the entire time. You'll very likely owe more than the car's worth for years, which is called being upside down. And a huge number of people are upside down right now. and don't even know it. The low monthly payment is the bait. The long loan is the hook. But I don't want to put all this on the dealership because the bigger problem is the game we play on ourselves. Here's the one I see constantly. Somebody walks in with a number in their head. Let's say $30,000. That's the plan. And then they get there and they sit in the $30,000 car and it's fine. But right next to it is one that's just a little nicer. A better trim, nicer screen, the package with the heated seats. Ooh, nice. And it's only 33, then 35. And in that moment, standing in that showroom, the extra $5,000 feels like nothing because the nicer one looks light years better than the one you're sitting in. We're human. We want better, and we can always find a way to justify it. I'll just keep it longer. Cars are so expensive now anyway. There's barely a difference between used and new. At least if it's new, I won't have to deal with a mechanic. There's always a story we can tell ourselves. I've heard all of them. I've probably told myself a few of them. And I think most of those stories are frankly nonsense. Because here's what actually happens. The newness wears off in about a month. A month. After that, it's just your car. The same as any other car would have been. But the payment doesn't wear off. The payment is there for 6 or 7 years. You traded years of financial margin for about a month of feeling good. And this is the part that really gets me because the cost was never really the car. The cost is the margin. When you lock up $500, $600, $700 a month in a car payment, that money isn't gone to nowhere. It's gone to a place where it can't do anything else for you. It can't go toward giving. It can't go toward investing while you're young when time is doing its very best work. It can't go toward a house or an emergency fund or just a little breathing room. Every single dollar sitting in that car payment is a dollar that isn't building the life you say you actually want. And when you lose financial margin, you don't just lose it on a spreadsheet. You lose it in your actual life. Less margin in your budget becomes less margin in your days. More stress, fewer options, the job you can't leave because you've got the payment, the opportunity you can't say yes to because the money's already spoken for. I watch people trade all of that away for a vehicle that's dropping in value and that they stopped being excited about a long time ago. And that's the part that drives me nuts. Not the car, the margin they never had to lose. So what do you do instead? It's almost insultingly simple. You save up, you buy used, and you pay cash. When I was younger, knocking on doors, the people I met who built real wealth almost all drove older, paid-off cars. They'd paid cash for them years earlier and just kept driving them until it actually made sense to replace them. No payments. And that was a big part of how they had margin in the first place. So here's the move. Take that couple of $100s a month that would have gone to a car payment. Instead of spending it to a lender, send it to yourself. Put it in a car fund and let it build. And when the time comes, you go pay cash for a reliable used car. Let somebody else eat that brutal first year of depreciation. You buy it on the other side of the cliff. Car that's a few years old, well taken care of, with plenty of life left in it. And then here's the part that actually feels good. You're done. There's no payment hanging over you. The money that used to be a car payment is just yours again every month to do something that actually matters with. That's not deprivation. That's freedom. Humble wheels, no payment, a lot less stress. Honestly, that's the goal with most of this stuff. So if your car breaks down or you're heading into a season where you need something different, just hear me before you walk onto that lot. You don't need the new one. You don't need to stretch. You don't need to play the monthly payment game. And you really don't need to talk yourself into the slightly nicer one that's going to feel so worth it for about a month. What you need is the margin, because the margin is the actual point. It's the thing that lets you give and invest and breathe and say yes to what matters when it shows up. A car is just a way to get where you're going. Don't let it quietly take the freedom you're working so hard to build. I get into a lot more of this in my book, Purpose in Every Paycheck. Links in the description. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you on the next one.